Good evening. You're flying with Pod Squadron podcast. All wings report in. This is Andy, Pod Job, standing by.
This is Tracy, Pod Sick Girl, standing by.
Lexi, Padawan, standing by.
All ships to attack formation. Mission objectives to talk about Star Wars in movies, streaming, animation, books, themed experiences, and your art and inspiration from a galaxy far, far away. Today's flight plan includes the 2-episode season finale of The Mandalorian Season 3. That's Chapter 23, The Spies, and Chapter 24, The Return. And for all of you out there, all comm channels are open. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Find us on YouTube, like and subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you know when we have new content. But first, I'll be your squad leader for today. I'm Andy Lowe, aka the Chinese Pirate, director, storyteller, puppeteer, and performer and fight choreographer. On my wing is Tracy.
Hi, I'm Tracy. I would like to add puppeteer to my repertoire. I'm going to try really hard not to cough in all of your ears. I've got Kleenex and Chloroseptic and all kinds of things happening, so I'm going to do my best.
And on my other wing is Lexi.
Hey everybody, Lexi, hang in there, Tracy. I know you've had it really rough.
You too.
Oh, I just got some really sad sniffles, but I mean, I know you just had like sick, and then you're like, I'm better, and then you're like, I'm sick. I feel for you. So hang in there. What do I even do anymore?
You're a petrified forest keeper.
Yeah.
You keep your dog for bricks.
I keep my dog eating bricks. And I haven't even been doing catering lately because
you broke out the aerial stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've got my aerial rig out in the backyard. Anyway, you know what? I have a little baby cosplay in the works for May the 4th, so I'm just gonna go ahead and on that. So yeah, on off event worker and nerd of all trades.
Excellent. And of course, we are just one squad in the fleet. We're part of the Geekish Network. That's right here on YouTube, also on Facebook. SOS to attack position. We're going in. All right. So we're going to jump right in. We are, of course, covering the 2-episode season finale of The Mandalorian Season 3, directed by Rick Famuyiwa. Famuyiwa? Am I saying that right? Sounds funny.
To look at the spelling, man.
But we're gonna let Lexi start us off with just a quick synopsis of the main points of these 2 episodes. You ready for this?
Yeah, ready.
Woo-hoo!
Ready or not, here I come. I'm gonna give Tracy a break, and I probably won't be as fun, but you know what? I'm gonna do it. So we kind of get an echo of the original Star Wars opening with a big old light cruiser coming in, and Navarro, they're a little bit worried about it at first, and Grief Karga's like, nah, look at the mythosaur on there, that's a Mandalorian ship. And we get to see Mando and Bo-Katan's fleet in all its glory, kind of one of the only times we get to see it. That ends up being real short-lived. And then let's see, so we've got the 2 factions, Bo-Katan's former faction, and then the with Axe Wolves. Am I getting that right? Did I get that right?
Yep.
Yeah. And the Armorers faction and Children of the Watch, and they are finally meeting, and it's a little tense, but it goes okay. I was a little worried when they were like, get the children inside, and then nothing ever came of that. Then you basically have they talk about going after Moff Gideon, because it's we did figure out that Elia Kane, is that
Elia?
How do you pronounce? I don't know. Kane, the one that screwed over Dr. Pershing, was in fact working for Moff Gideon. We get that reveal really early on, like surprise, surprise. We all saw that coming. She had the little red popsicle, like we knew she was bad news. So yeah, so we know that Moff Gideon is going to try to lure them into a trap. Bo-Katan convinces everybody to go to Mandalore and retake the planet, and then we end up getting to Mandalore. There's a whole other faction that's been there waiting for Bo-Katan, Bo-Katan ends up admitting some really dark secrets about her decision making and her guilt, going along with said decision making and how Moff Gideon got a hold of the Darksaber in the first place. So we kind of got that decision, that plot point answered, because a lot of people were wondering, how did he get a hold of it? So now we know she gave it to him in a trade, and that did not go well. Surprise.
Good intentions.
Yeah,
Classic
good
Empire double cross.
and Mando has this great, speech about, she's like, I was selfish, and he's like, you did what you thought was right, and then he's got this great, like, ooh,
Oh,
that was fun. And he's
a
got
tear
this,
in the space-time continuum.
and then he's got this really great, like, okay, whether or not he was actually flirting with her, guys, this is how you flirt. He's like, your song is not yet sung. I will serve you until it is. Like,
He loves her. He
it was
wants
so
to
cute.
hug her. He
Take off your
wants
mask
to
for her.
kiss her.
Take the helmet off. Take the helmet off for her. We want to see her face. So yeah. Oh, and the spoiler alert, season ended with no Pedro face. But
Wait, shadow cancel.
shadow cancel. Yeah, shadow cancel. So we ended up getting to see all of the Imperials working behind the scenes in cohorts with Moff Gideon. One of them looked like Uncle Fester, and they were all talking about cloning and assets, and Moff Gideon basically orders Praetorian guards and a bunch of things, and it's like, I'm going to take out the Mandalorians.
He's
So
like,
we get the
I'm not into cloning.
I'm not into
me.
cloning. Smoke bomb. Yeah. So, definitely into cloning. Little red herring there. So that all gets the stage set for when the Mandalorians arrive on Mandalore, and they end up meeting the other faction. They have 3 factions now going with them, and they realize that it's basically a trap. And Axe Woves goes back for reinforcements to the main ship. And are we ready to talk about Paz Vizsla yet? Are we ready?
Oh, should we I think we lost Andy for a second.
Oh no.
I'm wondering if we should just also do the recap of episode 8, and then we can just talk about it as a whole,
Man, episode 8. Yeah. Oh yeah, I should do that too.
Oh, well, okay, so Paz Vizsla, he fights to his last breath against the Praetorian Guard.
Yeah, when Bo-Katan goes to cut the hole in the blast door, and he's like, I'll stay behind and cover the rear. I looked at my boyfriend and I went, oh no, because I knew.
I mean, they were setting us up to like him more, and towards the end, that's always a really good sign that somebody's going bye-bye.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, and by the way, I've got a kid. There's the next generation.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm gonna stay behind, and I was like, you're gonna make Bo-Katan tell your kid? Okay, fine. So he decides to stay behind. There's too many of them, and takes out a whole bunch of the troopers, and the troopers are like, screw this, we got to send in the Praetorian Guard. And then his gun overheats, and he just throws the gun at them. And at that point, it
was a sacrifice. He knew he
knew what he was doing. And then at that point, it's 3 staffs versus like a short sword, and we all know how that goes. So yeah, Paz Vizsla.
Din's been canceled. I always want to say Jin, like a genie, like from Supernatural. It's not Jin, it's Din. Anyway, but yeah, he's been captured, and he's unconscious. And
at this point, he's told Grogu, keep up, but Grogu's moving pretty slow in his new IG. I can't believe I missed the whole, while we're waiting for Andy, it's worth going through it, the IG 11 reboot, IG 12, and how we get Taika Waititi's voice being Grogu's first edition voice, and he can say 2 things, yes, no,
like the dog buttons.
Yeah, the dog buttons. Yeah, no, that's what I did for my Instagram post tonight. Was Pod Squadron tonight? Yes. So Grogu has kind of disappeared, at which point everybody could kind of put the pieces together and go, he's gonna keep an eye on things and make sure that Din Djarin's not alone. And the episode ends with Paz Vizsla making the ultimate sacrifice. Axe Wove's going to get help Bo-Katan taking the 3 combined Mandalorian factions to regroup, and Din Djarin in Moff Gideon's custody. Hopefully we get Andy back soon. We've heard he's rebooting. But we should. Do you want to go into the finale episode? Yeah.
Yeah, but real quick, like at one point, like the armorer takes some of the people who have been the Mandalorians have been on the planet for so long, they're in really rough shape. She takes them up to get like medical attention. I know that there was some speculation that perhaps she was like a spy, and she was kind of getting the heck out of Dodge. I personally never thought that, but that was, people like to speculate. We also got to see like a cool like kaiju monster attack they had this ship that kind of sails along the glass on the surface of Mandalore. We got to see like the native plants in the caverns kind of
their gardens,
regrowing.
their underground gardens were really lovely, and
life finds a way.
I thought, speaking of life finds a way, I thought that the kaiju looked a bit like an Ankylosaurus, and with the big old club tail.
Oh, yeah.
It's my club.
At first I was like, is this a mythosaur? And then I was like, no, this is not a mythosaur. But
I know, I was looking real hard at the head. I was like, oh, is it? No. And then I saw the tail. I was like, I don't think mythosaurs had a club.
No.
But yeah, it looked like a kaiju style Ankylosaurus, and it totally wrecked the other Mandalorians. Like that ship was like a Treasure Planet kind of spaceship.
Yeah. And that was kind of cool. I mean, I almost felt like they were, as opposed to being like a third faction necessarily, they were more like the poor lost boys that got left behind. But they were like loyal to Bo-Katan, so I felt like they were more like of that.
And very scrappy.
Yeah.
Got Andy back.
Hey,
Oh.
okay, we just finished this episode 7, and we were thinking we should do episode 8 so that we could just talk about the whole thing as a whole.
Oh,
we
yeah, I would say.
Yeah, we were kind of going over little details, hoping you'd get back and not miss the
right on
and everything. So, episode 8, the finale, starts off with
the Shadow Council.
Yeah, the Shadow Council.
The Shadow Council was
in the last one, right?
Oh, it was? Oh, okay.
I believe so. Let me check.
Yeah. Which one of them was General Hux's daddy?
Yeah.
Played by Domhnall Gleeson's brother, Brian, you think? Brian Gleeson? Anyway, continue.
No, all good. I had missed that part, so I'm glad you mentioned it. Starts off with Din Djarin in custody of the troopers, and he almost manages to take care of the 2 on his own before a third one comes up and kind of catches him by surprise, and it looks like he's going to go down for the count. And then Grogu comes in with his excellent use of IG-12. No. and bails him out.
But when he sprayed him, and he's like, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Spray the back. To spray you.
Daddy's hurt. Daddy's hurt. Spray.
Help Dad. Yeah. So, okay. So we've got.
Then Din decides to go after him.
And he says, yeah, he goes, we have to go after him. Then he calls in R5.
Yeah.
And R5 makes a really great stand and helps him find where the control room is. They go and they find the control room, and they find a bunch of
mouse attacks.
Yeah. The little mouse droid, and then he brings more of his buddies, and R5 manages to fend the first one off with his little like cattle prod kind of thing. And then the mouse droid goes back for reinforcements and comes back to like waylay R5 right as or no, this was after that. He's trying, the mouse droid is stopping R5 when Din Djarin is taking out the guards force shield by force shield, and they still manage to get it done. Then all the little mouse droids try to gang up on R5, and he's like, see ya, and takes off. They finally get into Moff Gideon's headquarters, and surprise, surprise, despite his insistence otherwise, he's got a bunch of cloning tanks and a bunch of clones of himself and potentially clones of other things.
I think he's just an egotist, narcissist.
Yeah.
I think it was all just him.
Yeah, I think it might have all just been him. And you get a little bit of implications of Moff Gideon's big plan when Grogu is staring at one of them and it opens its eyes, which kind of
No.
no, no, no. Then they take out all the clones, burst their tanks, and they get out of there. Meanwhile, Axwov's basically is like, lets the main ship be a decoy, gets all of the Mandalorians out onto the drop ships, and they go down to reinforce Bo-Katan. Meanwhile, he's like, I'm gonna crash the light cruiser into Moff Gideon's base. I was a little worried that they would make it like a little too much and have him be like, I'm going down with the ship, but he didn't. He blasts his way out at the very end, which is, I was like, okay, that tracks.
Lots of cool skydiving in this one.
A little bit more. So much skydiving. We've got like a man-on-man dogfight, not even in planes. Really epic aerial battle.
Oh, that was so badass.
And all I can say is I would have really hated to be on the other end of the armorer's like hammer.
Oh my gosh, like the swoops and the whoosh against like, oh, there was something it reminded me of. There's some battle in something where you just see like flashes of their like costume pieces or something. I can't think of what movie it was from, but it just was like, so cool how they were doing that anyway.
But yeah, oh, there we go again. She's a blacksmith, so she has a really strong arm to begin with, and she's got like a jetpack
and horns on her head.
And I'm like, no, just get out of her way.
And Bo-Katan with the lightsaber, like, oh my god, like getting it out like while she's skydiving into the thing, and then just flashing that thing around.
Yeah. Oh, that was really good. Yeah, you got pretty much everybody in there, and the guards are fairly outmatched. There's just more of them, but they're definitely outmatched, which is fantastic. Fun to watch. Really fun to watch. Always fun to watch the Imperials get their butts handed to them. So, meanwhile, you've got Axpos trying to contact Bo-Katan. He's not getting any response because, what's happening at this point in time is she's fighting and Mando is finally caught up where Moff Gideon, they catch up with each other, basically, right? They basically catch up with each other. And he's got Grogu hiding. The Praetorian guards. Is it at this point where the Praetorian guard is that like noise that seems to precede Andy leaving? So
he start. Oh my gosh! And maybe that's what the ripping sound is. Andy just like being forcibly pulled. Okay, so Mando comes in to like the main room, and Carlos Esposito comes in. Moff Gideon comes in, and he's just like chewing on the scenery, like, and then he puts on his helmet, and it's like Darth Vader and Darth Maul and Mandalorians had a baby, and they fight a little bit.
Yeah. And he's got a powered suit, which really helps him a lot. It gives him a really unfair advantage because he's not as good of a fighter, but when he's got a powered suit and Din Djarin's already tired, like he's kind of got the advantage. Neither of them have a kind of a leveling weapon like they did last time, where one of them had the Beskar spear and one of them had the dark saber. They don't have that in this case, so they're just kind of going at each other. The Praetorian guards come in, they manage to back Grogu up, and then Bo-Katan comes flying in, and I was like, here she comes. She bails him out again. This is good. This is we've got a theme going here. Let's keep it going. And she kind of pulls the Mama Bo thing where she's like, go take care of the kid. I've got him.
Your kid. Take care of your kid.
Yeah, your kid. Which, your kid. Very specific. Very important that she's that specific. Meanwhile, poor IG-11, now 12, gets busted again.
But Grogu's having a great time. He's like, hey, like jumping along the lighting rigs.
Yeah, he's jumping along the lighting rigs, and then enough of the pieces of the lighting rigs come down where he gets trapped under one of the metal pieces, and then Din Djarin comes in and backs him up, and then they back each other up, which is really wonderful because you've got Din Djarin doing the heavy hand-to-hand combat, and every time Grogu sees one of the Praetorian guards coming in before he's had a chance to recover, he's like, "Nah, I'm gonna force push you. No weapon for you. Nope, force push you. No weapon for you." And he manages to do that over and over and over again until Din Djarin just takes them all out, because for some reason they don't have as much armor. Like they've only got like the chest plates, and then they have the robes, right?
Yeah, but they're like force sensitive, and their batons are actually like super, like they they're designed to be able to battle both Jedi and Mandalorians,
Yeah.
I believe. So
Oh yeah, but they still have more weak spots in their armor because they have robes.
yeah.
And Din Djarin uses that to great effect and manages to shoot them all. Um,
Well, they're not wearing Beskar, and I can
No.
tell you that.
no,
But
they're not wearing Beskar for sure, because he manages to shoot through it
yeah.
at certain points.
But for them to take out, I mean, neither one of them alone could have taken out 3 Praetorian guards. They had to do it as a team.
They had
And
to.
when Din Djarin told Grogu, "I need you to be brave," like Grogu actually like really took that to heart, and he was like
Yeah,
really
he
brave,
stepped
and was
up
really
and
proud of him.
and I think it's great because you kind of see them start to work together as a team more, where Grogu's not putting himself like almost directly in harm's way the way we have seen him do other times, and he knows Din Djarin's fighting style well enough to know how he can lend a force hand.
Yeah.
And he's back, hey! And then, so we finally get all the Praetorian guards taken down. Bo-Katan's really struggling because Moff Gideon has power armor and a Praetorian guard weapon. Then we get Grogu in there helping her, and then
Well, before Grogu comes back, though, he manages to crush.
oh yeah, he crushes the Darksaber. No Darksaber for anybody.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is we see the metal of the Darksaber crushed, but I wonder if the Kyber crystal is still functional.
Probably, but I say good riddance to the Darksaber is badass, but it was, the thing that was kind of one of the things that was keeping these factions so separate was that the children of the Watch,
yeah.
they didn't care about the Darksaber. Like they knew that it was there, but they didn't care about it. Their symbol was always like the mythosaur and the tradition and everything, whereas the night owls and all of them, like they everything centered around the Darksaber, but they also had like the mythosaur. So now that that's gone, they can all just kind of unite around like the mythosaur, which I think
So
is a good thing in the end.
I did see some really interesting speculation that since they now have control of the planet and Grogu is officially an apprentice, which we get to at the very end. Sorry to spoil it for everybody. Since he becomes an official apprentice, and since we never saw the Kyber crystal destroyed, and he's force sensitive, there's some speculation that people go, maybe he completely remakes the Darksaber so that it's no longer the old symbol. And so I'm like, okay, you know what? That'd be cool if they ran with that. I wouldn't complain if they did that right. We have in a little bit, we've got a classic Star Wars maybe death where we see somebody engulfed in a cloud of flame, and that's somebody being Moff Gideon after the ship crashes. The light cruiser crashes into the base. And we see him engulfed in his
bubble.
Yeah, we see him engulfed in a cloud of flame, but we never see the body. And Grogu gets before all that happens, he goes to reach for the Praetorian Guard staff, and Grogu's like, nuh-uh, and force pushes it away. And I also think it's great because we're seeing more endurance from Grogu's force powers. He's not just doing one force push and then being like, oh, I gotta take a nap. So good for him. Then we have celebration with the factions because the literal passing of the torch and the relighting of the Great Forge. And you see, was it Ragnar? Was it?
Yeah, Ragnar
finally
Vizsla
gets inducted as an official apprentice and probably becomes the first Mandalorian apprentice since the purge to be baptized in
The waters, yeah.
um
Now, did you catch the a very important tiny detail when
Yes.
he, yeah, what,
Wait, are you talking
Well,
about Ragnar or
yeah,
that scene?
the creed,
Oh,
yes, they did not tell him he had to keep his helmet on.
oh.
which I didn't
I looked
catch
at
that on the first watch,
I
but
looked at
that was like, oh, that's important. That's yeah, that's interesting.
Oh,
Yeah, I
I
looked at my
didn't.
boyfriend and I was like, I don't know if they're just implying that we came in after they said that, but I seem to remember that being at like the end of the creed that they make him take, and they don't make him say that he will never remove his helmet again.
Yeah.
And that seemed
I
pretty
did.
intentional to
I
me.
thought you were
So
talking about the little Grogu moment with the mythosaur. That's what I
Well,
thought.
there's that too, but both are very kind of important world building.
and there's like the Joker in me that's just like, well, yeah, they can't tell them to never take their helmet off. Well, how are they going to even make a helmet for Grogu? They had to remove that clause because they're like, wait a minute.
It's
So my
it's
friend Sean,
like a
who
little
was on the
coffee
show, him and his fiancee Lisa, who were on the show, he has made a Mandalorian helmet for his Grogu. It is possible.
Does he have ear holes?
Yes. And
That's so cute.
Din Djarin officially adopts Grogu,
Adopts Grogu, which made me
which
cry a little.
which
And
she
his
calls him Din Grogu.
And that makes his name even worse.
Well, but
But-
it's not like, so with the Vizslas, it's Ragnar
yeah, it's
Vizsla,
Paz Vizsla.
Yeah.
Paz Vizsla. It's not. So wouldn't it be like Grogu Djarin?
Yeah. it
Well,
should be.
I mean, we don't know because of course, Din Djarin is a foundling himself, so maybe he is using his naming convention from whatever planet he was on. Maybe he's Bajoran, you know?
Yeah. I could see him being a Bajoran actually. The nose holes would go very well on
There you
Pedro
go.
Pascal.
There you go. You have to put a double earring on Grogu's big ear.
Oh my god, that would be adorable. Gee, Pedro Pascal would be a really good Bajoran. I'm gonna ship that.
And then we have two more tag scenes, right?
Oh yeah. Well, besides the fact that we've got Grogu, as Andy mentioned, Grogu stares deep into the waters of the mine, and then they start, going through the depths of the mines. And at that point, I'm literally like, "Yeah, give me the mythosaur!" And they did. They gave us a little hint of the mythosaur, kind of implying very strongly that it responded to his force sensitivity.
Who dares disturb my slumber? Ooh, I actually do that pretty good with this voice.
Yeah. So, okay, other tag scenes.
Okay, then they go to the bar. They go to the New Republic bar,
Mhm.
and two things. Grogu sees the IG-11 head, well, whatever IG unit that is, and he's like, "Friend," and he's like, he recognizes him. Don't worry, it's not him, kid. But more importantly, Din Djarin offers his services as like a independent contractor to the New Republic. So it seems like next season we're gonna get more like episode by episode adventures,
Yeah,
kind of
where
like
he's-
the first season.
Yeah, where he's gonna be like a federal agent kind
I
of
know
thing.
that sound. That sound means we're losing Andy again.
Please don't go, Andy. The Empire's intercepting his transmission.
I don't know if you guys in the audience can hear like the tear in the space-time
There's like a-
continuum, but this is the third time it's happened when then Andy's gone.
And then it just goes and then Andy disappears, and okay, fingers crossed he's not doing it this time. So we see him barter his services, and he basically asks in advance payment. The only advance he asks is for the scrap piece of IG-11. Then obviously he's got some time passed because he gets an IG-11 completely rebuilt for the citizens of Navarro as their marshal, which is a really nice little friendship building tie-in earlier when Grief Karga asks him to be the Grand Marshal, and he's like, "I can't do it." But it kind of shows, he genuinely does care about the people of Navarro. It's a show of good faith because he does, in fact, take Grief Karga up on that piece of land by the springs. And I finally realized that the offer of the land by the springs was also a little toss. Oh no, we lost Andy. It's also a little toss in for Grogu because everybody knows how much Grogu loves
Frogs.
frogs, and they gave him a spring so that
He got to eat chicken nuggies in the bar too. Did you see
so that he can hunt all of his fish and frogs in his little spring.
We missed in the last episode too when Grogu's presented with the IG-11 for him to sit in. The little Anzelin is like gives him a wide berth and is like,
Goes,
"That baby, nose, easy."
uh, and really important little moment that I'd missed in one of the episodes is when, inevitably two of the Mandalorians from the different factions are having a little bit of a dust up, and Bo-Katan's like, it had to happen eventually. And then Grogu uses his IG-12 to step in and push them apart and just go, no, 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 and stops them. And Bo-Katan goes, you taught your apprentice well. He's like, didn't learn that from me. And so it's kind of nice because it's implying he did pick up something other than more force endurance from his Jedi training. And you kind of get that little confirmation at the very end when you see him levitating the frog, and instead of snacking, he puts it back.
Aww. He's like a cat. He plays with his food, just doesn't kill it, just messes with it.
He understood what Luke's message was, and he's like, I'm gonna wait for you to have tadpoles. I want those eggs. He's learned, why have the frog when you can have the eggs? So he's learned patience from Luke and action from Din Djarin, and yeah. So that was the full season recap, and hopefully we can get Andy back here for the rest of the discussion. But
well, now we can get into like the nitty gritty. Andy or not? Well, this is girl time.
We got this. We got this. Where are we in the thingy?
Where do you, yeah.
Yeah, he's back.
Oh yeah, Andy's usually the one who goes through the episode or through the.
Yeah.
Oh, now my mouse isn't working.
Well, also because I normally have two screens, one with the breakdown and one with you guys on it, but because I've been traveling, I just got back, I've only got the one screen, so I'm having to switch back and forth, and I'm not on the proper
Well, it looks like Andy's making his way back in, but maybe while we wait for him to get settled back in, what did you overall? How did you guys feel about the last two episodes and the finale? Was it satisfying to you, or do you feel like it covered and took care of a lot of the plot lines?
I think there were a couple of things that felt like they maybe got tied up for the sake of getting tied up. Like, it was very neat. I won't use the term Deus Ex Machina because I don't feel like that fits here, but I feel like some of the things were like, well, we got to tie that up, so let's figure out how to tie that up. And it maybe didn't feel altogether justified, earned, whatever. But I do think that, they did, I think that there were some good resolutions that also were not so resolved that we don't have any material left for a final season. The Mythosaur, they teased us again with that, so they better give us a lot of Mythosaur next season. They better give us a lot of Mythosaur next season. That's all I'm gonna say. Andy,
I think they did a good job of for maybe people who haven't watched the animated series, of kind of bringing in some stuff that explains some of the stuff that maybe would have been confusing. I saw somewhere that, like when I think it's the armor says, these are two warring, or no, it was during the Shadow Council. They're talking about how it wasn't even that. It was the very first scene when Elia Kane was talking to the
Moff Gideon and
the Moff Gideon, and he's like, that's impossible. Those are mortal enemies. And I heard some criticism that maybe that could have been stated earlier so that people who didn't watch the animated series could have just known that. I mean, I think they probably figured it out over the course of the
Yeah.
season, unless you were just really dense.
Yeah,
But
based on the values that were presented of the two factions. Well, gee, no wonder they aren't buddies already. Like,
right, like that could have been stated like at the beginning of the season at the very least. But I think as far as kind of bringing in Bo-Katan's history and all of that, and I feel like they did a good job of kind of wrapping up some of those things. I feel like they've done a pretty good setup of and also of kind of bringing in like how the New Republic is gonna you guys, I'm so sick. How the First Order is gonna kind of come into fruition. I think bringing in like General Hux's dad during the Shadow Council, the guy who's like the right hand man of like General of Thrawn, into the Shadow Council,
Leon.
mentioning
kind of showing
Thrawn.
how they're all. It was a good juxtaposition to see the Shadow Council and how there was only a few of them, and they're all kind of like eyeballing each other and all kind of jockeying for leadership and position, like trying to figure out how they can get the edge, and seeing the Mandalorians, who should be enemies, as a larger group and really join together. I thought that was really good.
Oh no.
Hi, Andy. Nice
Bye,
to see you for a few minutes
Good
there.
to see you, man.
And
I liked that we've got a little bit of a mention of
oh,
Thrawn as
he's
well.
still here. He's still here.
Last time it took him a minute. Please don't go, man.
He froze last time. I can see him moving. Anyway, so and introducing like General, like, Andy, your microphone is farting or something. I don't know what's happening. We can't hear you. You're just making farting sounds. No.
Oh no.
Anyway, because we know that Thrawn's gonna be the big baddie, right? And we're getting the Ahsoka series. We already saw the little hologram, like the little Tashiar hologram of Ezra Bridger.
Yep.
And it's all gonna culminate in this big movie that's gonna be directed by Dave Filoni, where Thrawn, I think, is gonna be like the big bad, right? So we're gonna see all these little
absolutely setting up Thrawn to be the big bad, which
so
he deserves because he's pretty scary.
it's like Moff Gideon was Loki and Thrawn is Thanos.
Yeah.
So it's gonna
Thranos.
what?
Thranos.
Yeah. Oh, but I'm bumped. That took me a second. Lots of meds.
I had to.
Anyway, so yeah, I think that it's actually doing quite a good job of threading all of those things together and making everything kind of make sense. I don't know.
I liked the resolution of. I liked where they left off with Grogu and Mando with like the officialized adoption. That felt like a very fulfilling closure to that particular little arc to me. They left a nice little door open for, okay, but like, where is Pershing and what condition is he in? Probably vegetable, but you know, we can hope. So
no, Andy, we can't.
We can't hear you. We can just see your lovely face.
No. The sounds though, make them stop.
It's like Darth Vader's helmet having a malfunction. A Wookiee wearing Darth Vader's helmet.
Did you wonder, like, okay, so now he's like living the tiny house life and on Navarro, like he could have lived it on the other planet and like also like had like a lovely female partner. I'm just saying. Although I take that back because I really want him and Bo-Katan and Grogu to be a little family.
I know. I think I don't see him ending up with a lady farmer. Much as that breaks my heart with me over here with my garden. No, I'm just kidding.
If he did, the lady farmer would definitely be wiped out, her whole village.
Yeah.
Because there's no way they can just live in peace, right? Like,
nope, no, that doesn't get to happen. But I was gonna say that's why Bo-Katan would make a good partner for him if they have to be partnered up.
What were some of your favorite moments from the last two episodes? I'll say mine. I think the with Bo-Katan jumping in to save Grogu and Din Djarin, but then also getting engulfed by the flames was just that was such a really, really cool moment. And I love the fact that Bo-Katan was so sacrificial, and then she just decided she literally was jumping in front of the bullet, her laser,
Yeah.
to save them, and it just showed that possibility of that pairing and family in the future. It was really, really cool. So like, just everything that was wrapped up into that moment, that was like really cool, and just seeing Grogu use the Force like he did before, but shielding them from the
The
flames.
crescendo,
Yeah.
of the flames and the music and the force.
Yeah.
And of course, like we're saying, and he didn't pass out at the end, which is like kind of showing his
So he's
He
getting
like
stronger.
sit down, right? Didn't he
Yeah.
sort of like sit down and
skills.
squeak?
So what were some of your favorite moments from these last 2 episodes?
Oh man, I know it's almost just pure comedy, but I love the use of Taika Waititi's voice and just like, yes, 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 no, 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 yes, no. And how they made Grief Karga kind of like the uncle that buys the kid the Xbox. And his parents are like, man, his grades were not doing well. Why did you do that? He's like, you can set parental controls. It's fine. I really like that dynamic, not just for, giving Grogu a chance to kind of grow up a little bit, but also it was a comedic way of deepening like that little community, that found family that Din Djarin's been pulling in around him. But I mean, the absolute comedy of yes, 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 no, 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 yes, 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 yes. And then how that gets used to dramatic effect later when he stops the fight between the two Mandalorians with no.
And saves Din Djarin.
Yeah,
with
no.
it. Yeah. It's a very forceful
No, yeah.
no. Yeah. Like you can you can weirdly feel the meaning in it. It kind of like you can see the emotion despite the fact that the Mandalorians are wearing helmets. Like you can feel the emotion in his robotic voice. I don't know how they do that. Maybe it's all in our heads. I don't know. But
I mean, directing school, they taught me like the higher up you lift an audience with happiness or comedy, the harder it hits when you pull the rug out from under them with tragedy. And I think it kind of worked in that dynamic where you had that comedy of like the little kid going, yes, yes, no, no, and then that gets really neatly juxtaposed with him using yes and no when it actually matters, and then it lands harder.
And the opposite is true too. Like I think it would, for all his problems, Joss Whedon said something along the lines of like knock him down, knock him down, knock him down, and then throw in a joke, right? Like Peter thought it was funny that Bo thought her tiny shield would block the explosion, but I think there's like energy that goes beyond that, right? Like it's not just like
it's the thought that counts. The thought that counts.
The thing always reminds me of Doctor Strange, like I don't know.
This thing, I mean, she's just like, chill.
Which the kind of going, okay, and see now this is what Andy's the only one of us who's actually feeling well, and the two ones who are not feeling well are the ones that are having to hold down the show.
We've got Dayquil, and what are you dealing with? What are you handling it with right now?
You guys are doing great.
Speaking of, thank you, Rodney. Speaking of shields, like the cool new Beskar armor troopers that they had like their own version of like riot shields almost.
Yeah. Oh, I loved that. I loved the sequence where, first of all, shows how far Din Djarin has come, where at the beginning he refused to work with a droid, and at the very end he's working very effectively with R5, dropping the shields one by one, has patience with him when the mouse droid is heckling him. He doesn't know the mouse droid's heckling him, but instead of losing it, he's like, okay, R5, drop the last shield. R5 last shield. R5 last shield. Not getting angry, but just like, come on, man. And then R5 drops the last shield, and instead of chewing him out, he's like, good job, buddy.
Yeah. And even telling him even before that, like, I have faith in you. I know you're not going to let me down.
And R5 goes from doing his little like chattery, shivery thing to like kicking a mouse droid off the cliff and being like, peace,
Oh my God, that poor little mouse droid that just like rolled backward right off the edge. My boyfriend was like, did that droid just fall off? I was like, yes.
I was like, yes, he just murdered that other droid. Droid on droid violence.
I like the shields too, like they were like the same like Darth Maul shields, but instead of like holding back radiation, they were being used as like actual like protection, right? Like
All right,
as
my boyfriend totally pointed that out. He's like, "Oh, those are like the Darth Mauls." I was like,
yeah.
"Thank you." That's why they looked familiar, and I couldn't figure it out, but he did. So, but I liked that because he looks at Grogu and he's like, "I don't have any weapons. This could get messy." And like, I liked how you kind of showcased that scene for showcasing Din Djarin's capability with different weapons. Like, he lost his knife. You can see him reaching for his knife as the guy falls off.
Well, he started that whole battle with no weapons, right?
None at all.
Yeah.
And you could see him, he's like, "Oh, the knife, okay, never mind, got another weapon." And he starts off, gets a knife, gets a mace, gets a riot shield, gets a gun, and is just switching. Really, really cool.
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Hey, I know that
All
office.
I'm on my phone now. I don't know what's going on. Sorry,
I don't
Aw.
either, and I don't think Tracy does, but we're both sick, so
Yeah.
hey.
We're winging a prayer here. So Peter says that there was a time when he thought Din Grogu would refuse to become a Mandalorian, but this time with his sad face when the armorer said he was too young, confirmed he really wants to be like his dad.
He looked like he was gonna cry. I was like, "Hey,
Aw.
Armor, don't you make him cry. I'll take you on with your hammer if you make him cry. I don't care if scary that."
Trying to think of what my favorite moments were. I feel like I really just was along for the ride this with these last two episodes. Like I really just sat back and just kind of enjoyed the whole thing. The aerial battle, like I said, like I don't know why those cuts, like I just like loved those cuts because I'm not always like the kind of person who loves like battle cuts. Like sometimes I think they're too frenetic, but the way that they did it was just like so like smooth and seamless and just like you'd really got the feeling that they were in midair
I mean,
battling
And
this
it's also
out.
something we've never seen in live action before, too. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a totally new kind of visual
it was
thing, too.
it was a new kind of visual, but I not but and I loved that it was almost a callback to the original Star Wars like dogfights, but instead of being in ships, it was literally like people.
Yeah.
So
And
I
I liked that it was like very focused on the women as well. I mean, you got like some axe woves and stuff in there, but for the most part, you were seeing, the armor, you were seeing Bo-Katan, you were seeing Casca Reeves, like you were seeing like these like really strong women just like duking it out.
and the Arbor was just annihilating with that hammer. I can't get over her. I mean, I know that, okay, I know Beskar's not real, and I know I can't be a space blacksmith, but I've been fascinated with the idea of taking up blacksmithing for years. And like, I just like watched this episode and I was like, God damn it, I gotta go find some classes, man. I really gotta learn how to smith. I gotta get some guns on me, man.
And another thing that I thought was really interesting too, just kind of creating this kind of visual language, right? Where basically these troopers, these fake Mandalorian troopers, have all the same powers. Like they have the little grapple gun. Excuse me. They have like the darts. They have like the blasters. They have the flamethrower. But
they don't know how to fight with them.
Say what?
But they don't know how to fight with them really. They still fight like stormtroopers.
And they don't fight for each other.
And they make a very conscious effort in terms of how they kind of stage everything, where it's like, okay, so the Mandalorians, they know how to go, they're going for the neck, they're going for the joints, they're going for stab wounds, whereas the troopers are just kind of shooting and blasting as they go.
They're like, target practice.
You know what I actually really liked and appreciated about these two episodes was I'm usually very good at guessing how things are going to turn out. I'm a little bit of a movie psychic, but I was really expecting both when the armor was leaving with the injured, the sick and injured people, and also when Axe Wolves was going up. I fully expected when they broke through those clouds that they were going to be met with like basically this huge Empire force, and the fact that they didn't, and I was surprised that they didn't. I was pleasantly surprised that they didn't kind of fall into some of those traps that would have been very like stereotypical, which is also one of the reasons why I'll be okay if Din Djarin and Bo-Katan don't get together, because it's okay if people are just friends, but as much as I want them to be together. But
what if they were an asexual couple? I would love
Huh?
that. If they were an asexual couple, I would love that. If they were just like, love you, honey. Mwah, bye. We have our little green child. This is enough. This is um
Um.
oh, who was
Okay.
the guy who was commanding the light cruiser when Axe Woves came up and was like, get everybody off. I'm using this as a decoy.
Oh yeah, who was the
Does he,
spy?
does he have a name?
I don't
I don't-
remember, but I liked how, like, when Axe Woves was like, get everybody off. I'm gonna use this as a decoy. There was that moment of like, dude, are you sure? But he trusted him and got everybody
Yeah.
off, which I think
I
was
saw-
kind of
Well,
emblematic.
that, and I
That
thought
episode was
it was a
called
really
The
kind of good.
Spies.
I mean,
And
I thought
maybe
also it was also a really good kind of interesting, just kind of idea of, okay, well, here are the tactics, right? We have all the gauntlet fighters that they're not going to do well in a dogfight against those interceptors because they're super fast and very agile. But the Mandalorians also don't have like the air power, but 1-to-1 and in combat, and of course in the caves where the interceptors can't fly into, like, that's where they can win this battle, right? And
The
so I mean, that
300.
idea,
They also
That I-
got suckered into falling into a obvious trap, but
sure, yeah.
But okay, so the 7th episode was called The Spies. Who the fuck were the spies?
Well, I mean, we get Elia Kane. I mean, I think
That's it?
presumably you could say that Moff Gideon is a spy, that he's the head of intelligence and he knows everything. It's a stretch. I don't know.
So I kept like, that's why I thought that maybe the pilot of the light cruiser was maybe like a spy, especially when he kind of looked back. But then no, he was just like a good guy Mandalorian.
Yeah, I think
okay,
some
you
people
kind of
were-
like.
Okay.
I think this is another case of we the internet going a little crazy with the speculation. And so-
I'm
And-
gonna
and-
If you're
duck
gonna
out
name
for a
this episode
second
that-
because I've got a plug coming loose and I want to make sure it doesn't go flying. Keep talking.
There was a Star Wars Explained video that was talking about the spies, specifically that, Tracy. And so they're saying, and it's more convoluted, and you have to watch it, but basically, everybody thought it might have been the survivors, and then, but then the video, and it was basically off a theory that you found off Reddit, was saying that the spies were basically the landing force. It was Paz Vizsla
that they were spying on the
they
Empire.
were the spies because there's based on the Old Testament, the spies that were sent to the Promised Land
Right.
to reclaim the Promised Land, and there was
That's right.
12
There's
of them.
more allusions to
Yeah.
Jewish mythology.
Yeah,
There are 12.
There was 12, and then there's a screenshot that they actually counted how many people landed with Paz Vizsla. The first landing party was 12. There's 12 Mandalorians.
So I
there-
saw, I saw
Yeah. So
something
I
about
don't-
that, and there's been a religious over thing, but I still think that's a stretch.
It is a stretch, and then especially if you name the title of the episode is The Spies, right? You think of it's like maybe it was
That's
all
my
just a
one
big
quibble.
red herring, right? It's just the one big red
Yeah.
herring.
Either that or it's going to be something that's revealed later on.
So
I don't know.
So I also have like a whole other theory about this season. And I will say I don't dislike this season because I would say this season gave us a lot of great things, but not everything. I think, like you said, Lexi, not everything was necessarily earned. So here's my theory, right? So let's just look back at the various storylines that have been accomplished. If I were to just to break down what is like the thematic thread. So over the last, I don't know, 2 years, we've had Boba Fett escapes the Sarlacc and finds belonging amongst a family of Tuskens. We have Boba Fett loses family, takes back Jabba's empire, and protects it from the Pikes, and establishing that he rules Tatooine. We have Din Djarin tries to go back to his life without Grogu, has a hard time of it, and decides like to maybe try to visit Grogu and thinks, well, it should be his choice, not mine. Then there is Bo-Katan and her whole redemption arc and regaining, unifying all the tribes of the Mandalorians. And then there is basically a kind of running plot about the state of the galaxy, and particularly in the Outer Rim, where there are various planets and various states of chaos or order, plagued by pirates, plagued by kind of insurgencies from former separatists, right? And then you have the last kind of storyline, which is ex-Imperials who are either trying to adapt to the New Republic or undermine it, ultimately leading to Moff
They're the new
Gideon's,
rebels.
leading to Moff Gideon's kind of plan to empower himself to take over the remnant, right? And if you divide this up, like, I could see this having been, Boba Fett escapes to Sarlacc, and then also Jabba's, like, that would be the Boba Fett series, right? And then the Mandalorian series would have been Mando tries to, go through life without Grogu, and ultimately is reunited with Grogu, and has adventures together, and creates that family unit. You have the Bo-Katan arc. Then you have these two other arcs, which are clearly the first half of the season, the second half of the season of what would have been Rangers of the New Republic. And I think what they did was they did a hack job where they took, the two episodes, the Mandalorian episodes that were focused on Grogu and Din, and pulled those out of the Mandalorian and put those into Boba Fett. And then they stretched out the Tusken Raider, plot for Boba Fett, to kind of stretch that out. Then they repurposed some of these stories about that were going to be Rangers that are various planets, dealing with pirates or dealing with separatists or whatever insurgencies, and gave those stories to Din Djarin and Bo-Katan. And then, of course, what's happening with all the Imperials and Elia Kane and Moff Gideon. And so what that means is this season ends up being hacked together because it has little bits and pieces of all of that, right? What it does is that it clears the board, and now they don't have to do that first season of Rangers of the New Republic. We've heard that Mandalorian season 4 is already written. It's probably already written because they repurposed more scripts for Rangers of the New Republic, and now Din can be that Ranger as he's working as a bounty hunter specifically for Carson Teva. So that's my theory of kind of what happened with this season.
Speaking of theories, I remember we were calling it back a little bit to Bad Batch, how we were like, hopefully, oh God, wouldn't it rip our hearts out if Tech was one of the prototype Dark Troopers. And the finale of Mandalorian gave me kind of a new theory on that because of Moff Gideon literally going, I've improved the Dark Trooper armor, and the best part is I'm in it. And then he gets torched and we never see his body. And I'm like, wait a minute. What if he gets Anakin Skywalker roasted and has to be Vadered together into this suit?
Yeah.
What if he's the prototype Dark Trooper?
Well, so I have another theory about that too, right? So that we know that Thrawn is coming, right? I mean, Peleon's there, and they're all talking about, the coming of Thrawn. We know that the Ahsoka series is next. If you remember, if you know the Heir to the Empire books, the Heir to the Empire introduces a Dark Jedi character. His name is Joruus C'baoth, or C'baoth, or I don't know how you actually pronounce it. But the idea of this character was that he was a clone of a Jedi, and that the cloning process would make the clones go a little crazy. They were a little insane. And that's ultimately in the original Zahn novels, that was the reason for the Clone Wars, was that clones went insane and waged war on everyone and created chaos through the galaxy. Of course, now that's not the Clone Wars that has become canon now, right? So there is nothing that talks about clones going crazy. But now that we know that Moff Gideon wanted to create clones that were strand casts of himself, that would connect him to the Force, or rather give the Force to his clones, right? That is an interesting way to set up and ultimately make Moff Gideon, or rather a clone of Gideon, serve the purpose of Jorah Sabaoth eventually, so that you could have Thrawn show up.
That's what they
find
say.
Find, sorry, what?
Okay.
Philosopher King is saying it's Sibayoth.
Sibayoth, okay. That's what I thought too. But yeah, so you could have, when we eventually get Thrawn still gets his salamander things that block the Force or create Force bubbles. He can find a tube of Force sensitive, clone of Moff Gideon who is insane because he knows he's dead and he's just a clone, but he has the Force. And you can still maintain some of those plot points from the original era of the Empire using Gideon in that role. That's my thought. Total tinfoil hat, but
I'm on too much cold medicine for everything you're talking about, Andy. We're talking about Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian and
Stay cool, Squadron.
It's basically just the way, one way you could repurpose the same Heir to the Empire plot points and characters, but repurposing them with the existing chess pieces that are on the board currently, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah, there could be a couple. Oh, and it also kind of explained why Moff Gideon would have Alias Kane brain fry, mind flay Pershing, because he wanted a monopoly on that tech.
Yeah. And ultimately, what will inform why Snoke was so messed up because they never had a cloning expert, because he's off the board now. I mean, that's the other thing too, right? Is that all of this whole thing basically clears the chessboard so they can start fresh and, start their march towards Heir to the Empire.
Except we got a mythosaur in play now, and it's probably going to be Grogu riding it.
But we also have, we don't know, right? Because, honestly, we're probably not going to see another season of The Mandalorian for
2 years.
Yeah, a couple of years, because we've got right now we're coming up on Ahsoka. We're coming up on Skeleton Crew. Acolyte was after that. Presumably, what is the next thing that's part of this Mandalorian universe? Because there's no more Rangers.
Ahsoka?
Besides the ones you named.
So it's just Rangers, or no, there's no Rangers. It's just Mandalorian and Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Chat, you got anything for us?
Well, the Rey movie is not too far in the future.
Right, but probably won't tie into this.
The chat's full of stuff, by the way, you guys. I just haven't been able to get to it yet.
Are they remembering any series that we cannot?
Nothing about series
or movies, I guess.
Oh, Peter brings up a good point. If Ilya will be mad at herself when she finds out Moff and his clones are all gone, maybe she shouldn't have fried Pershing's brain like that. Yeah, I wonder what's going to happen to her if Moff Gideon is truly toast.
I mean, he's toast in one way or another. I just don't know if he's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Does she have any other handlers? I mean, can she reach out to the rest of the Shadow Council?
We covered it all.
I think Moff Gideon shows back up in some way or form. I don't think all the clones, his copies were destroyed, like he said. I think they're gonna come back in one way or form.
Maybe he'll have like a Darth Maul spider body.
Well, I mean, that's the other thing too. Is like that spider thing Was he taking Din's blood to eat, or was he taking it to like clone?
Oh, right. You mean
Right?
the Grievous kind of the
Yeah.
eye? Yeah.
Yeah.
The
What if they
one.
bring him back with wings and they call him Moth Gideon?
Oh, bum. That would go along with the kaiju monster.
I'm sorry.
What do you guys think is going to happen in the future, like in the next season of Mandalorian?
I'd already mentioned I think they're gonna make something of Grogu's apparent connection with the mythosaur. Uh, there's been some speculation I heard, which I don't know if it'll go anywhere, that Grogu will also get his little paws on the kyber crystal within the dark saber. And personally, I'm looking at Moff Gideon talking about how this dark trooper suit, the biggest improvement is me in it. And then maybe instead of ending up being, a powerful force sensitive clone, maybe he ends up the guinea pig for the dark trooper droid. Kind of Echo style, but malevolent. So but definitely, I mean, my most certain thing would be Grogu and the mythosaur will get played on either in season 4 or in the upcoming film. Oh no, I'm gonna sneeze. Please don't sneeze. Don't sneeze.
So there's a lot of mustache gate stuff happening in the comments that this Moff Gideon didn't have the mustache, so it was probably a clone, and Moff Gideon's still alive. And no, not General Grievous's body. There's a thing where Darth Maul had like a spider thing, right? Like a spider lower body.
Right. When he was first found, he's
Yeah.
like a little insane, and he has a spider lower
Yeah.
torso.
Like Sid's doll in Toy Story.
So can I go through some of these comments before we get
Go for
too
it.
far behind?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this one's a little bit of a tangent, but Maltov Dojo Rat wants to know. It says he just finished Bad Batch. Should he go back and watch all 7 zillion episodes of Clone Wars before binging season 3 of Mandalorian? We actually did some episodes where we did like clusters of
Yeah.
of Clone Wars and Rebels episodes that would.
Yeah, we actually maybe Rodney, you can go back and repost that, but we do have an essential Bo-Katan
Yeah.
playlist
Companion
And an essential Ahsoka.
And that said, we never made it through all of it. We only ever made it through the Clone Wars stuff. So that's something too that we could come back and particularly as we are headed towards Ahsoka, maybe we want to go through some of the Rebels episodes again.
Yeah.
So I don't think you have to watch. I mean, if you really like having like all that background and everything, I think it's worth it. But if you don't feel like you have the time, we do have some essential watch lists that will also.
Yeah, it's not gonna ruin season 3 of make or break season 3 of Mando, but it's definitely gonna add some depth if you want to do that.
And I think Bo-Katan really has a really interesting arc overall, right? Because I mean that's been a point of debate, I think, among some fans who say, well, wait, she's not a very good person. And it's like, no, actually, she just has a very full arc where she has made a number of mistakes, and she, I mean, she made some choices that she fell in with the wrong crowd. Her sister and her planet like paid for it dearly. And it really kind of informs where she is now in terms of, I'm just tired of Mandalorians fighting each other, right?
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Did you know that David Tennant is going to be playing a droid in the Ahsoka series?
Yes, he is coming back as Hu Yang, which is the lightsaber building droid that he played for the Clone Wars for the first time we saw Ilum. He goes with the younglings to help them build their lightsabers, and if I recall, one of the gimmicks is that he has the specs on every lightsaber ever built for like the last 1,000 years.
Kind of like the wizard, whatchamacallit?
Ollivander, right?
He's like, he's the Ollivander of Star Wars.
Okay, so Peter Griffin hopes that when Rey shows up on Mandalore, Grogu and his best bud Ragnar are standing there when she lands in her new movie.
Ha!
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Let's see.
Yeah, because like Grogu would be he'd be about 90.
Who?
Grogu.
Oh, yeah, around 100-ish. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's the theory is he'd be like right around 100.
like- Actually, child age, not toddler, maybe.
Okay. Anyway, okay. Oh, and the rest is like kind of chatter, I think. Anyway,
We love your chatter.
sorry guys. I'm so
So for me for next season, I'm really looking forward to. I'm hoping there is a bit of a time jump, enough of a time jump that we get to see a rebuilt Mandalore, and just to see what Bo.
You think they'll go the dome out
manages.
again?
Yeah, I mean, to get a Dome City back, to see, Bo-Katan actually, have a complex society of, various tribes that are, and it is an interesting thing. One of the, I suppose, if the New Republic is, not recognizing all of the Outer Rim planets, to have Mandalore set up as like the focal point of the opposition to the Imperial remnant is interesting. If Mandalore is like who is protecting, the Jack Black Lizzo world, and also protecting Navarro and all of these other Outer Rim planets, right? If they become like the main army, kind of, protecting the Outer Rim.
I can't hear that without thinking of Dave Navarro every time.
It's Dave Navarro world.
I kind of want to see where the Mandalorians go because you don't really see them in the sequels. So like kind of like how do the Mandalorians fit into this, this next series of movies that are going to have Rey, and apparently now Finn. I heard that he was on board.
Right.
So.
That's the rumor.
Please give him something to do, you guys. I mean, I don't think he would have. I don't think he would have signed on if they hadn't. But I mean, I hope.
Well, give him some redemption. Like his character deserved more.
He's gonna be the first student.
Maybe, yeah.
He's going to be the first student of the new Jedi Academy.
Speaking of which, sorry, I know we're trying to wrap here, but there was something about somebody said something about like taking like what am I thinking of? There was something about like them taking kids to be like maybe it was a theory. Never mind. That the Beskar armored troopers, or they were seeing the beginnings of them wanting to take kids. Maybe it was in the Shadow Council, like of them wanting to take kids to train them into be troopers, which would lead us into how Finn became a stormtrooper because he was taken as a child.
I see what you're saying. So that is an interesting thing.
So much cold medicine, you guys.
One of the throwaway lines that Moff Gideon says in the Shadow Council scene is he says, I'm not really into clones. That's your thing, Hux. Right? Presumably that older Hux is really into clones and wants to rebuild a clone trooper army. But we know that by time Force Awakens, younger Hux is all into his abducted children who are brainwashed and raised into trooper, right? So that is a cultural shift that we'll have to eventually see. Where does that come from?
Which that was inspired by the Jedi Padawan system.
Sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the other thing too, right, is that it was very lightly alluded to that the other stormtroopers who, like Finn, had left the First Order were all lightly force sensitive as well, and that force sensitivity is what broke them of the brainwashing. So I mean, that's another thing too, is that 15 years after the Rise of Skywalker, you could have Rey and a whole new order of all those ex-stormtroopers you know, turned
And the kid from
new,
the
new
stables.
Jedi
The kid from
Yeah.
the
Kid from the
stables.
with like a new Jedi council of like Rey and Grogu and Cal Kestis and
Ahsoka, would she still be alive? How long does
maybe I mean we don't
live?
know how long Togrutas live, so maybe
Yeah, we all
Ahsoka.
the ones we know keep dying pretty early.
Would
Poor
Ezra? I mean, I don't know. I have never really watched in Rebels, but like, would Ezra
Yeah. Okay.
be in play, or
I
is
don't
that
think.
delving
Okay, so
into
one
spoilers?
other thing, actually, on that note, so this was a fun theory that a friend of mine said to me. I don't know if I think it has a good chance, but I like the idea of it. Was that the Sam? Oh gosh, what is his name? The trailer for Ahsoka shows two new dark Jedi with orange lightsabers, right? One of them is an older man. What if that's Ezra?
No, we see him in the little Tasha Yar hologram.
Well, that's the young Ezra
Oh.
before he left, right?
Okay.
But
I don't know.
yeah,
The hologram still has him looking a little older than he was when he left. So I'm not sure. But I don't
Yeah.
know if that's just like the inevitability of live action casting or if that's intentional.
yeah. Like I said, I don't know if I see that really panning out in terms of the story they want to tell. But it was an interesting idea, theory crafting that a friend of mine said to me. I was like, oh, that's an interesting idea.
All right, let's wrap.
All right, then.
I'm putting a button on it.
So, thank you for joining us here on Monday night. When are we back, Rodney?
Definitely discuss that. I know May the 4th has Visions.
Yeah.
So
that will be the next thing. So we'll probably come back for
we'll
Star
definitely
Wars
be back
Visions.
for that. We might take a little bit of breaks, let everybody recover. You know, Tracy and Lexi are still kind of sick, so
I have a play to open.
Yeah, but I think definitely be back to talk about Visions, and then I think also if you guys are up to Tales of the not Tales of the Jedi, but the Jedi Advent Academy shorts. Possibly.
I mean, I still think actually maybe coming back and looking at some of those Ahsoka,
I would
and
really like that.
episodes,
or maybe like a
from
Rebels.
Rebels,
Or maybe like a Rebels rewatch somehow.
particularly leading up to the Ahsoka series.
Especially since we had that nice little Zeb cameo.
We have a Zeb cameo. We know Sabine's there. Hera is going to be in this. We haven't seen footage, but I imagine Jason Syndulla is going to
obviously
be
there's
in
a
this.
lot. So if you guys out there in the comments, let it drop us a line on Instagram or on Facebook, and just let us know if there's anything else you guys want us to cover or check out or discuss. I know, looking at the chat, some people haven't even watched Clone Wars yet, and like I've watched Clone Wars, but I definitely want to watch Rebels going into Ahsoka myself.
Yeah.
So I'd love to.
And we will definitely remember to repost those essential watch lists if you want to go back and research more about Bo-Katan and Ahsoka. We'll get those back up.
But,
All right. So thanks for joining us. We're here on the Geekish Network. Please follow Geekish Network on YouTube and Facebook, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for joining us here on Monday nights. Check the schedules for all the other great shows that are here throughout the week, and look also for when we shall return, probably around the time of May the 4th for Visions. We are the Pod Squadron. Please check out all of our content on podsquadron.com. Like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For podcast subscriptions, you can subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app. I am the Chinese Pirate at Chinese Pirate _ on all platforms.
Hi, I'm Tracy, the hot nerd girl. You know where it is. May the 4th is only like 2 weeks away, you guys. We get 1 week
but I'm
off.
gonna play next week.
And Feral Geek Aesthetic on Instagram and the Feral Geek on Facebook. Occasionally I post and it's a treat.
All right. right, all wings return to base. Course laid in and prepared to make the jump to light speed on my mark. And remember, the truths we cling to depend on our own point of view. Only the Sith deal in absolutes. Good night.
Good night.
Oh no,
This is my
man.
sexy Catherine
I'm
Janeway
gonna
voice.
sneeze.
Oh.